What's up, everyone? Godly One here. I wanted to finally make my top lane guide, but there's gonna be three parts to it, kind of, and mainly because there's really three ways to play top lane. Now they all have similar concepts. But as far as like the initial part of the game, I think that there is a big enough difference to talk about, just what champion is allowed to do what in what certain situations. So the very first style I want to talk about is kind of like the aggressive type of a champion. Like I'm talking like Darius, Mordekaiser, you could say Set even. Jax would probably want to do this. Fiora, maybe Fiora. But anybody that wants to get an advantage against their lane opponent, most of this is going to be figured out during champion select. So, if you pick a champion, like let's say you picked Mordekaiser top, and then the enemy picks Fiora, well, you have to decide who's going to be the lane aggressor. In that scenario, it's actually going to be Fiora, more than likely, because Fiora counters Mordekaiser. Like, that's where counters kind of come in. So, this is going to assume that you are the lane aggressor. Okay, so I have a video here of some gameplay of mine. Excuse me, by the way. And I'm going to go through here. I am playing Renekton, and I'm against an Aatrox. Right now, this game... Aatrox is strong at this moment in League. They just buffed him. And Renekton is usually in a little bit of a rough spot as of late in League, so I'm kind of just tested the boundaries a tad. But I do know that Renekton's a really solid early game top laner and can usually be aggressive regardless. And I do think it's usually better to be the aggressor rather than the aggressee. Granted, Aatrox can typically be the aggressor, because, well, Aatrox's kit is very early game. So, we do a little bit of an invade here, and I do end up getting first blood. I'm not trying to make this video like, I ended up beating my laner, real early, so... obviously, like, me getting first blood is going to give me an advantage, but this is kind of the whole purpose of the aggressive player. You're going to have some sort of advantage against your lane opponent regardless. Now, I want to talk about something real quick, too. We decided as a team that we were going to go up here and do this, right? That was a really good invade. I like that we did that, and we all kind of followed through with it. Now, I ended up dropping my ward here. It's a pretty decent ward spot. Typically, if you are going to ward early, you're going to want to like ward right here if the mid laner or the jungler doesn't. But actually, as a top laner, I would honestly say, like, don't even worry about this ward because it shouldn't actually matter at the end of the day, and I'll explain that in a little bit. So, we're going to go to lane. And... we're starting this out. So I do get up here. And here we go. So I want to take the role as the lane aggressor. So I want to essentially get more minions on my side pushing into him. I'm trying to hit level 2 first and foremost. First, I want to hit level 2, and then I want to shove in the third wave into his turret. So this is your initial goal as the aggressor. And this is really kind of the most important part of the game as far as like getting your advantage, your lead against your opponent. So here I am. I have 5 little casters. I pushed it a little hard there. Okay, I'll be honest. It was a little more than even I would have liked to do. But, you know, my abilities do hit through minions. And I was kind of pushing a little harder than maybe I should have. Regardless, we're going to hit level 3 here. And I want you to take note of the time of the game. This is at 2:41. And here we are. We now have pushed this wave into his turret. Now, this is 2:53. Typically, junglers are able to gank right around this mark. If they're really, really, really fast, they can typically gank around this mark to top lane. If they started blue, then they went to red. Now, in this particular game, there's no real way to see that, but that is exactly what happens in most matches. And what you want to do is, after you shove this in, there's 2 options you can do. The first option is you can literally go and back. You could just like go back to your bush and back. But when you do that, you only go back with the amount of minions you have already slain. It might not even be that many. I think usually you get something around 450 gold. So if you do back at that point in time, typically your first buy should be a refillable pot and boots. So you can run back to the lane real quickly. And then you can catch this wave as it pushes back into you, because since this stopped at his turret, he's going to have to naturally have his lane shoved back into you. You get to save your teleport and you get to pick up this wave. Very, very simple, easy, also pretty good play. There's like almost no reason that play is bad, but it's not always the most optimal play either, because if you go back on that first buy, you're getting boots, you're getting a refillable, you're helping yourself, obviously, but you're not really getting too much of an advantage against your opponent. Exactly. This is more, you're doing this more so you can evade the jungle gank, right? And also to push them out, and you know, you're hitting your level spikes earlier, so he's going to typically lose out on CS while you do not. Now, the second option is to now maybe not go this way through, but like maybe wrap around this way, drop a ward here, right? Now, I can't drop a ward because I dropped a ward here, but you would want to drop a ward in this bush. If you do drop a ward, I'd drop it like maybe like right here, here, somewhere in this little region. Don't drop it here and don't drop it here, and just somewhere in there. And then you want to wrap around, avoiding vision, because you don't want the jungler to see you. You also don't want your laner to see you. And you can go to the edge here. So this is your second option. This is the more aggressive option. And we know that the lane's going to be pushing back into us. Also, we know that he probably doesn't see us. Granted, we just poke out. But, you know, in a normal match, the jungler is, his timer for you is like gone for ganking. So it doesn't feel quite as bad to maybe try to do something a little bit more aggressive. Also, we know that this game, I have teleport and he has ignite. So even if I do die here for whatever reason, I can always come back to lane with my teleport. It doesn't feel all that bad. It still isn't great, but, you know, I'm able to do a little bit of an outplay here, and the minions finish him off. And now I gain control of the lane completely. And since he's dead, what you want to do, whenever you kill your lane opponent, the very first thing you should think of is, can I shove this? Meaning, is the jungler possibly able to kill me? If you don't think the jungler can kill you, if they come to try and gank, you always shove this back. Always shove this back. And these are concepts you would typically do. Oh, I don't do it here because I'm able to teleport back and it's going to shove towards me anyway. I probably shouldn't have cleared as many minions as I did, but it's still going to shove back towards me. So this is another way you can do it. And this is totally fine. Totally fine. And it does deny him minions, and it gets me back into lane with an item. So what did I come back with? So I come back with a pickaxe, while all he has is a long sword. So I'm definitely ahead of him. I'm going to be ahead in levels. And the game continues. So now what we're doing is I'm kind of building up a little bit of a slow push here. I'm also trying to deny him from stepping up towards his tank to just take it for free. But, you know, I'm able to push this in, try to get it pushed into the turret, right? I took a free turret shot, really try not to let that happen. But since I have shoved this into his turret, I get a roam timer. You need to start thinking about roam timers when you do this. Like, you shouldn't be sitting here at the turret, like, trying to poke them while they're at the turret, because you're just going to get yourself in a bad spot, like, 90% of the time. Maybe not 90, maybe 60, 70% of the time. But I just walk over here real quick, boom, free kill, no big deal, you know? And things like that just give you advantage. Also, you now know, like, you're not going to get jungle ganked because the jungler's dead. You know, it's just always better to do like a roam timer on something like that, because let's say Aatrox moved away from his turret to go chase you over here. He's going to lose so much CS at that turret that, like, even if you were to die, he's losing experience and gold, and the wave's going to bounce back towards you regardless. So this is always a good thing. Plus, you already are stronger. It's just better. So, this is a fun little play here. Hit my level 6. Yep. Barely got him. So, now that he's dead, you shove it in. And since he's still dead... Oh, by the way, I lagged right here, so this seems stupid, like, that I'm dying. I lag spiked so hard, my character, like, literally did not stop moving. So, when you see this, please don't judge me. So, yeah, that happens. Real stupid. If that didn't happen, like, if I didn't just die there, I probably go for one plate, and then I back, right? Now, he warded this bush, and so you should take note of that. I probably would have forgotten, but, like, if you see somebody ward, like, make sure you run away farther so that you get out of the, or you go into Fog of War. So, yeah, I mean, these are your typical top lane concepts here, but this is how you get into an aggressive scenario where you are just pretty much pummeling your lane opponent. You're also getting jungle prio, you're getting just total lane advantage, map advantage, and yeah, you're just making life really difficult for the enemy laner. So we get to this spot here, he's trying to shove in. So another thing that you can do is what's called a lane stall. For some reason I decided not to. It's really not a huge deal because I am ahead. And I do kind of want to shove into his turret anyway, so I don't go for the lane stall necessarily. I'll probably go for a slow push, because I just think I'd rather do it. Although he's pushing really hard now, and we should not allow him to do that. And he goes for the ignite. This is going to be another good battle here. He's way too far extended up in the lane. I missed that, that's so funny. I do outplay him here, though. Not that I'm trying to, like, show off skill here or nothing, but, yeah, there we go. Got him. So now he's dead again. So how do you punish this? You get a turret plate if you can. You shove in the wave, and you back. Or you finish off that turret plate, and then you back. Yeah, you want to finish off that turret plate for sure. I should have been a little bit better on that one. I take out his pink ward just for fun here. Now, I think that's enough footage of just kind of that concept. There's not much more to go about it. I do want to get to another spot here to show another concept that's like pretty important. Get another kill. There's Ivern. Ivern stops me. Alright, I back. Go back to lane. Aatrox is trying to go into my jungle, try to get some prio. So, okay. Now, here's a concept that's really powerful. You're already ahead, but this guy, he's sitting under turret, he's at full health. You really can't just turret dive him yet, right? So one thing you can do is you can go behind his turret and kill the minions. Now, I didn't do it perfectly right there, but I will get it. So, boom, shoves in, don't care, go behind, and then you're going to essentially proxy this wave. This does a couple of things. The first thing is he literally has to stay at his turret. I guess he could go up towards these minions and just take all that, you know, extra damage from them. And Aatrox probably could, but like whatever, right? And it's also going to make it harder for him to farm. I'm going to get a little bit more damage on his turret from the minions. And if he so desires to try and chase me down the lane to go and stop me, he loses all of the CS to the turret. So he literally cannot move from his position. He has to stay there. Because if he doesn't, he loses out on experience and gold. Which nobody necessarily wants to do. And I don't want to, and I also don't want to necessarily be here because I don't want to turret dive him. But I still want my CS and I still want my experience. Now, so I'm doing this, but this does a whole other boatload of awesomeness. Since I've proxied here, how long do you think it takes minions to walk down the lane and get there? It's something like 30 seconds, I want to say, to 45 seconds. I think it's like 40 seconds. I think it might be 45 seconds for each minion wave to go down the lane, right? Or like from it spawning to going down the lane. Now, that essentially means I have 40, I have like a solid minute to a minute and a half for a roam timer here, where I can go and try to either find the jungler, find maybe the mid laner in here, which I do, and try to just like make their day really annoying. The other thing that I can do is I can just back here. I can literally just like stop right here and press the B button, go back, and then walk back to the lane and be back in time to catch the wave that would be coming this way. And not lose any CS at all. It's a very, very powerful thing, and you should take advantage of this when you can. It'll make life a real big pain in the ass for everybody on the enemy team, and it makes your life so much better. Now, again, if you could turret dive this guy, and you think you could turret dive and win the trade, that's a whole nother story, but this guy's been at full health the whole time. I'm not having it. I don't want to try it. This is way safer play and just all around just better concept. Plus, getting this jungle prio against the enemy jungler, I always love messing with junglers anyway. This is just really awesome and solid, and yeah. So I do kind of mess up this whole concept. After this happened, I should have backed, but I saw him go over here, and I was feeling a little frisky, a little froggy, playtesting this concept a little bit, you know. And, you know, I almost get out. They got me. It happens. You know, nothing's always perfect in League. But, you know, I probably should have just backed there. That's fine. After I did my little jungle invade. And so, but then I TP behind over here on my ward and kill him again. So it's really no big deal. So that's a concept. And then you go ahead and, you know, do it all over again, essentially. Like, that's just super annoying, right? And I'm literally fighting like Ivern and Aatrox the whole game because they're trying to figure out a way to stop me from doing what I'm doing. So this is awesome. Now, I want to talk about turrets a little bit because I don't think people really realize this. Turret plates matter a hell of a lot. Oh, also, for whatever reason, this game I did not go demolish. You should like almost always go demolish. I'll talk about that later, I guess. But turret plates give you 175 gold per plate. First turret going down is 400 gold per person on the team, right? Or no, it's 400 gold for you and 100 gold for everybody else on the team, something like that. Regardless, it gives a lot of freaking gold. I want to say it's like over 1,200 gold, like total, like between you and the team. And then, honestly, like the more important turret is almost this tier 2 turret. It'll give you, I want to say 500 gold to you or something like that. It's a boatload of gold. It's a lot. It's like getting 2 kills worth of gold, essentially, when you take down one of these tier 2 turrets. And they actually go down really, really fast. So if you're going for like a pure like split push top lane mindset, get the first turret, get the tier 2 turret, and then you're going to want to go rotate to bot lane, get this tier 1 turret, and then get this tier 2 turret, right? So that's essentially what you want to do. My dog's barking in the background. So yeah, I mean, that's essentially how you do it. And then after you kind of do all of that, you should be super fed. You've been in solo lanes the whole time and you've been messing with them. So that's essentially how you want to do aggressive top lane strategy. As far as like who to pick for this, like you choose, like it's usually either when you know you counter someone. Granted, that's not always the case because you could be playing like a scaling champion like Kale, and even though you might counter said person, you don't necessarily want to shove them in like levels 1 through 3. That's kind of a ridiculous thing to do on Kale. I mean, maybe if you're freaking sweet at Kale and your enemy laner doesn't really understand that they should be pushing for that level 2 over you, like, which is like never going to happen, right? So, certain champions you literally cannot do what I just showed you with the whole aggressive strategy, but I would beg to differ that doing the aggressive strategy with a champion and just pummeling your opponent and making life miserable is going to win like every single match that you're able to do it with. Like if you get like 1 or 2 kills and you can really lane stall properly, or not even like lane stall, but just shove in, get it, get a proxy in, start getting some roam timers on, like you can totally impact the game and win just from doing this and making your enemy laner's life miserable and very unimpactful. You can make them absolutely unimpactful on the map, in the game. So that's how to do it. My next videos, the first one is going to be on scaling champions, so like that Kale or like maybe like a Nasus type of a thing. And then the other one's going to be kind of like more a premise of like tanky champions slash like proxying champions, like real like tanky proxying type stuff, like Scion and maybe even like Singed or like Malphite, for instance. So like they have a completely other whole way to play top lane. So there's 3 real different play styles to how to do it, but this is, I think, the most powerful one and the most consistent. The only thing is if you do get behind for whatever reason, it's hard to kind of get out of this pickle of a situation. Now, speaking of like wards and what I was saying earlier, where I was like, oh, you shouldn't even need a ward over here early, it's because if you shove in these 3 waves right to here and you go on your timer, you can go over here and put a ward here, and now you have jungle vision, and then you go back over to this bush and the jungle just doesn't even know you're there, so you're not even necessarily worried about getting ganked, right? And then if they do show and they show up down there, your laner doesn't even know you're in this bush unless they warded it, so you can literally just funnel back to your turret and you're fine. And then they're going to be shoving back into you anyway, so that entire time that they were moving down, you can just catch it anyway. So, just play the lane appropriately. I didn't talk about lane stalling at all in this video because, it's not even absolutely necessary when you are more of the aggressor. But when you're scaling or whatever, lane stalling does become more of a factor. I would say you can still lane stall in this scenario. You just gotta play your cards right. If there's a big wave here, I mean, you might as well just let it crash and then clean it all up, especially if you're ahead in the lane. It's really not that big of a deal. But if, let's say it's a pretty small wave and they're pushing into you, you can do, I guess I wasn't really able to show it in this video, but you can just kind of like force them backwards. Actually, I did kind of show that in this video, where the Aatrox was pushing into me with kind of a small wave, and he decided he wanted to fight me out here in the open lane. That's really bad for him. Granted, he still did a lot of damage. He almost got me on a couple of those, but I think, when you have item advantage, level advantage, you typically just win out, even if somebody plays their champion well and are playing a really good champion on top of it. So I thought this would be a really good video for you guys to watch to kind of see this concept and try to put it into practice. Is there anything else to mention? Oh, yeah, wards. So I talked about that one ward here. If you're going to buy a pink, you want to put it here, especially earlier in the game. And you want your regular trinket ward to be in this bush. Once the lane kind of goes more, you want your trinket to be here, and I'd say kind of like more like right here. You want it to be able to see the Krugs, but you also want to be able to see the open lane here. And then you want your pink ward to be at the edge of this bush here, in case the jungler tries to walk this way. You can typically catch them if they're walking this direction. Or you could put your pink ward here in the pixel bush. I prefer putting it here against most junglers. Ivern can't necessarily hop walls, but you can at least see like the blast plant come up, and if somebody could hop a wall, they could hop it over here. And yeah, if your other ward is right here, this whole bush is open. It's just, I think it's way better to have the pink ward here. So yep, ward. And those should be pretty much your only wards, ward locations if you're blue side going to red side. If you're red side going to blue side, things change up quite a bit. If you're going to pink early, I'd say pinking the tri-bush, and then you're going to want to put a ward in this bush typically, but it's kind of awkward, right? It's a little awkward because they can just hop over the wall. A lot of times it's almost better to just go a little deeper and place your ward over this wall where you can see the Gromp and the blue buff, and you know for a fact that the jungler's on that side of the map. And typically if a jungler comes through here, they're going to go to their wolves, they're going to go to their Gromp or their blue. It's very rare they'll just totally skip their wolves, go straight up the river, and then through like that. Like, that does not really happen. But, you never know. Maybe somebody is just, like, crazy, they'll do it. Like, if they're blue and Gromp are up. Like, even if their Gromp is up and they're running this way, they're typically going to go ahead and grab their Gromp. Even if the wolves are down and the blue is down and that's up. Like, they're going to go for it. I say, like, the only way you get caught out is, like, if they just ran through mid, they went for, like, a scuttle crab, and then they went top. Like, maybe you missed that. But your jungler and your mid laners should be warding at least something, right? So you should be able to catch that before that happens. So that's why I would put my regular trinket there. And I guess, like, if you do go deep enough to do that, you could make the argument that you should still put your pink ward in this bush. I think that's a fair argument. So yeah, that could be fine, and then that also allows you to wipe out any wards your opponent could do. So I mean, maybe pink in this bush. I think early game, pink in this bush is probably the better route. But maybe not. Maybe pink. I'm sorry. I'm kind of like red side warding is just awkward. It really is. I don't think anybody like has a real great theory on it. But maybe pink here. You go down here. You put your other ward here, and you go up and you kill the blast plan if it exists, right? Before you buy a pink ward, like definitely your regular ward trinket should be here. I don't think there's really any reason not to. With that being said, it's much easier to be ganked if you're on the red side because this is just harder area to ward. If you're blue side, so keep that in mind. Like if you're blue side, you should expect more ganks from your jungler, and if you're red side, you should expect to get ganked more. I will say, like, late game wards, though, red going into blue side, I think you get more prio because, like, wards over this bush are nice. Getting, like, deep wards here. This deep ward is actually not that crazy, but, like, you can get a pixel ward here, put a ward here for, like, a pink, and then drop a ward over this wall, or even drop a ward, like, right here, and you just get so much vision. Which is almost better than like dropping a pink here and then putting a ward here. So that's just like kind of like ward coverage. Another thing, I didn't do it this game, but if you stand right here and you press spacebar to like center on your screen, and then you hover over to this like little triangle spot and you try to place a ward, it will place it right here. It will place it in the bush. So if you're you're expecting a jungler to like come in and gank you, and you get that itch like this is gonna happen, you can drop a ward over this bush and be safe. Now, since we're in the aggressive lane style, it's not as particularly necessary to like worry about that kind of a concept. But like if you're a scaling champion, which I did play a match with Kale, and I did this, it's very, very effective. And they had no idea that I had a ward in that bush because I'm literally standing in the middle of the lane the whole time. I never walked over here to ward. So it also confused them. They're like, why isn't he stepping up? Like, does he have a ward in there? When I literally did not even move out of my lane for the first, like, 5 minutes of the game, right? So, little things like that can give you a huge advantage for your entire team too. Like knowing that jungler is just sitting in that bush for that long of a time in the early periods of the game gives your jungle prio to go into their other sides of the jungle. So I feel like I touched on a little bit more than I was supposed to, but again, this is a top lane guide, and this is aggressive top lane guide. So if you liked this video, you liked some of the concepts you heard here, great. I think the only other concept I didn't really hit on is, you're ahead. Like, remember, this is like you are ahead. If this lane is pushing in and your enemy laner, like let's say Aatrox, maybe there's a good spot for this. Where he's at the turret, maybe. No, he's like almost never at the turret, is he? Anyway, let's say like Aatrox is at this HP. Yeah, let's say he's at this HP, and let's just say I'm at this HP as well. But let's make the scenario that Aatrox is literally right next to his turret, and you have a big wave crashing, right? You have a big wave crashing in. Should you just let him take that wave? No, you want to try and kill him, and you might die, and in fact, at this health, you probably will die, but it's almost always better to do this, because you'll get a kill, he'll get a kill, so you go on an even wash there, but since you have a really big wave that built up and hit his turret, the turret's going to kill all of those minions, he's going to lose out on all of the gold and all of the experience from those minions hitting that turret, or dying to that turret. And also, it's going to allow for that lane bounce back to where when you get back to lane, it's going to be pushing towards you so you can catch it. So even though you could go on an even wash and die, it's still better in your favor. And a lot of times when you do this, you can still kill them and get out with a kill, or set up a play for your jungle to maybe come in and kill them, and then like maybe you get a turret plate or two and then you back out. So that's definitely something that you should be thinking about when you are being aggressive. I think that would be probably the final thing I wanted to say about all of it. As far as like runes go, I've done a ton of research on the challengers and how they play top lane, their theories about everything. Like, everybody has different play styles. I am under the impression that every single top laner should take teleport, and I think every single top laner should have either have a resolve tree where they have demolish. I think every top laner should have demolish no matter what, because there's so many scenarios where as a top laner you're going to be the person split pushing, and having demolish is just way too trivial. It's just way too important is what I mean, not trivial. It's too important to not have, and mowing down these turrets, getting all the gold from them for you, for your team, knocking out vision is just way too vital, and it's literally how you win the game anyway. So, and then having that teleport is a way to, stop an enemy laner from just shoving endlessly, perhaps, but you still being able to maybe make a play on the opposite side of the map. Like, going in with Ignite or Barrier or Ghost can be very good, and I think like really good players can still make it work, but I still feel like if somebody is tactically great with teleport, they will eventually outperform the enemy top laner, even if they fall like pretty heavily behind, because they can just split push relentlessly, and there's not going to be a real solid way around it unless somebody else split pushes relentlessly on the other end. So anyway, as far as like being an aggressive top laner, if you'd still get ahead and you still have teleport, like, you literally win the game at this point. Me having teleport, flash, this guy having ignite and flash, beating him in lane, doing everything that I did, just like the icing on the cake is like that I have the teleport available. So I'll leave it at that. I think I made this video long enough. But my next video, I'll talk about my the scaling champions and how to play them. And then the final video, I'll talk about kind of like your tankier, kind of like more proxy type champions and how to play them, specifically like in the lane and how you want to play it just in general. So anyway, thank you for watching. If you like this video, I would appreciate, a like, a subscribe, a comment. If you didn't like this video, same thing, you can make a comment and be like, hey, I think you're stupid, that's fine. Doesn't bother me. I'm just trying to be helpful and show you guys like what's going on. If anybody's wondering about my rank right now, Season 2 split just happened. I'm Plat 2, 58 LP. I'm getting like 38 LP a match. I'm sure I'll hit Emerald with pretty great ease. So anyway, see you guys. Bye.